right, welcome to episode X of The Heroes You Deserve. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
I'm Richard.
And we are going to discuss the Task Force X the Suicide Squad trailer.
Blitz trailer.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, easy. Suicide Squad. So we all watched it, so to refamiliarize ourselves again. And I guess, how familiar are we with the original Suicide Squad in the comic books characters?
Me, not a whole lot. I mean, I've seen them on Arrow, and I've seen the Assault on Arkham animated film, but beyond that, I'm not real familiar with the source material. It wasn't one of the titles that you turned me on to when you were sort of filling the gaps and all the stuff I'd missed when I stopped collecting comics.
But it's like any team book, like X-Men or Avengers. There's always been a revolving door. You know, some villains ended up dying, and they change them out from King Shark to Harley Quinn in the recent years. But I mean, there's always...
So do they sort of play an anti-hero role?
Yes.
You two seem to know the property significantly better than I do.
How familiar are you with the comic book?
I didn't read it.
No?
I was just familiar with it. But, I mean, it was in mid-'80s, maybe? Early 80s
when it first started,
yeah. I know Deadshot has always been a member, and Captain Boomerang has always been a member. After that, Rick Flag has always been a member. After that, you know, it's been pretty much, like you said, a revolving door. Lately, you know, it's gotten a little bit more popular by the addition of Harley Quinn, obviously. But some of the characters in the movie, like especially like Katana, who I believe was with the Outsiders.
Correct.
Not necessarily with Suicide Squad, but I suppose, you know, they're comparable.
Right, she's kind of like the hero, just making sure, keeping them in check. You know, chaperone.
Probably, yeah.
So is that the role she plays?
I don't know. It's a good guess, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how she is in the cinematic universe. I mean, is she in the Arrow show? I mean, what characters are in the Arrow show? Since I'm not familiar with Arrow.
Katana,
Captain Boomerang, Deadshot.
But not the same Deadshot.
No, they're all different.
No, clearly not.
Those are the only three.
Is that everybody?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it is. Yeah.
There was a brief possible Harley reference.
Oh well, yeah, they did that when they were walking through.
But
Argus.
Right.
And there was cells, and I think you heard something come in from one of the cells in that very familiar accent.
Yeah, well, it was the same actress.
It was Margot Robbie that did
No, the same actress from the animated series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the one that was the voice in the Arrow episode.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
a little bit of trivia that I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right, so do we know when the movie takes place in perspective to the DC cinematic universe, like Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman?
Based on everything that I've heard, every movie that we're getting is taking place in sequential order. So the events in Suicide Squad, the main story takes place after BVS. There may be some flashbacks here and there, but the core story takes place after BVS.
That's Batman v Superman to the uninitiated.
Okay, so since Batman versus Superman's 20 years later, Batman fighting for 20 years, and we've already saw the reference of the Robin costume. So this is still an angry Bruce Wayne at whatever
clearly
the
has
Joker
an
did.
axe to grind with the Joker.
Right.
I mean, he always has, but this...
Well, I think whether it succeeded or not, I think the ending of Batman versus Superman may have kind of calmed him down a bit, and he maybe not. I think he realized
to get the poison out.
Well, I think he realized with the line that he said, you know, I failed him in life, I'm not going to fail him in death. I think that he realized that he may have been going a bit too far, and I don't think we're going to see that side of him anymore. Now,
so you think we're talking about Jason Todd at this point?
It could be Jason Todd. It would be a great way to set up the Red Hood stuff, I think, you know, for moving forward, if that's what they're going to do. It could very well be Jason Todd. I don't know that they would mess with Dick Grayson. That's a Nightwing movie waiting to happen, and Nightwing is very popular in the comics. Tim Drake, I think a lot of people don't really know that much about him still. I think it just jumped to Damian Wayne all of a sudden. Like, people just kind of, I mean, he's still in the comics. I think he's Red Robin, I think, in the comics, Tim Drake is, and they're bringing him back in Rebirth, and then in June or July when those books come out. But I have to be willing to bet that it would be Jason Todd. And so of course, I'm thinking Batman still has an issue with the Joker specifically. But as far as him like branding maybe, or like doing a lot of the really vicious things he did in Batman versus Superman, I don't see that going to be happening anymore. And I think they addressed it decently in the movie.
And this second trailer, we see a lot more of the Joker this time around compared to the first trailer.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just a tease. We're seeing him walking, talking, doing stuff.
So the question is, how much of a role does he have?
That's
in
the
the
question.
movie, right?
Seems like
That's
he's
the
the
question.
big bad.
He's like the Spider-Man of the Civil War. Like, how much of a role does he have in that movie?
Well, I mean, reports are that it's more significant than we think it is going to be. But I mean, it looks like the Joker is being set up to be the main antagonist in the film.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You
No.
really, do you think he's just there to be like a foil to just like get in the way
I
and
think-
make their lives miserable as they're going after the big bad?
I think he's there as part of Harley's origin story. There was a shot there of Batman holding Harley and taking her, or at least Dr. Harleen Quinzel, carrying her to the Batmobile. So I think the Batman sequences could very well, and the Joker sequences could very well be flashbacks.
That'd
Maybe.
be a big tease.
Maybe. But I don't see them all getting together to fight. The battles and everything that they've shown them fighting, I don't think those has anything to do with the Joker.
Right, I agree.
It's more of a magical threat, more of a something
Right, well,
something
it's-
different,
I guess
otherworldly.
Spoiler. I mean, might as well go full spoiler, but I think.
Well,
I
we're
think
just speculating here.
Right,
I
right,
mean,
true. We think it's the Enchantress.
I think that they were kind of, because we've never seen the Enchantress as part of the group. Every shot we've seen of her has been solo on her own.
Right.
And we've never seen that she's not at the bar having drinks with them. She's not getting out of the
When the press
helicopter.
material, she's
Well,
part of
she's
the roster.
Sure.
Well,
Best press photo. though.
Apparently.
well, but that doesn't
Press
necessarily
photo.
mean that
And
I'm
Slipknot's
just
in that photo too.
yeah. I just think that it's a possible, because she's got magical powers, and it just seems like it's more connected to her being the bad guy.
Right.
It's a guess. We could be completely
So
wrong.
is there a reason that you think that, Henry, knowing the source material?
No, it's just the trailer too,
Right.
though.
It's just a trailer. I mean, the whole they seem to be fighting some sort of mystical energy or
Right.
beings
These
created.
These are like constructs or
right,
something
constructs.
that they're chopping up with the swords and stuff. They're made out of rock or something, or like tar or something, and they're falling apart.
Yeah,
and
I remember them
that-
breaking apart into pieces.
that has to be some kind of magical power
she's
or
not in the-
otherworldly power.
She's not in the prison scene or prison cells when they're giving them their equipment or their guns or anything like that. And
So we're thinking that Joker, if he's going to play any role at all, is just there to sort of add a little flavor to the
Maybe-
whole.
I
mean,
think he's part of Harley's origin. I think they're going to really try to give Harley's origin in this movie, because she is a major draw for DC Comics, regardless of what people say.
Right.
She is basically the DC version of Deadpool.
right, totally.
And they're not going to pass up an opportunity to give us her backstory if they have the opportunity to. So
You think she's the only one that's going to get that treatment, though?
I think so. I think there's gonna be a heavier focus on her than there will be on the others. I mean, I think Deadshot also. Deadshot and because Deadshot's relatively popular too. He's well known.
And Will Smith
Well,
is a big get.
Yeah, and we
for
did
that
see
role.
him in Arrow, and he was quite popular in Arrow. I mean, he became a popular character. So I think that Deadshot, and Harley Quinn are going to be the characters that probably get the most story. Now, Boomerang looks amazing. He looks really funny, and he looks like he may be a scene stealer, but I don't know that he's going to get as much story as the other two are.
Well, I mean, it's a big ensemble, so
Yeah.
some characters tend to get lost.
Well, he's a B-list villain, isn't he?
Well,
Yeah.
he is one of the founding members. No, well, I don't know if he's a B-list. He's one of the Flash's rogues.
Right.
He is.
That's right. He is a member of
And
the
he
Rogues.
is a founding member of this version of the Suicide Squad in the
Right.
comics. So he's really not. I mean, he's goofy the way they drew him, but they've kind of revamped him and modernized him a bit. And he's a pretty legit bad guy.
And Slipknot, we were just talking about earlier. We think Slipknot's going to get killed early on. As an example, he's going to test the limits of the
Possibly.
of the if you irk me, you die. And he's going to probably test that. I think because he's not in the footage of them fighting. He's not in the bar scene. I mean, you don't see him anymore.
He never even says a word.
So he went for a bottom rung villain that they knew, no one's gonna care if this
Well,
guy
he
dies.
was the first villain killed in the comic as well. I mean, he went rogue in a mission. And
Okay, so there's a historical context. for
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as well.
absolutely,
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
So I mean, plus, I mean, he's just a bad guy that knows his way around magical rope kind of thing. Slipknot. I mean,
Yeah,
how's that?
he's got rope powers.
Yeah, that's not a lot of use in it unless you're in India.
So he's Bear Grylls.
Right, pretty much.
Lovely.
But so how does the trailer look? What do you think?
It still looks fun. It still looks it just looks great. I mean, I just got a great cast.
Any concerns on based on internet talk or based on the trailer? I mean, is there something that you're worried? I mean, they were talking about. There's been talk that they've had some reshoots, whether either to add more action or to make it more lighthearted. Do you think that's happening?
I am fairly certain that David Ayer is being 100% honest when he says that they asked me to shoot more action, and I told him absolutely. He said he the last information that I read was that he added an entirely new set piece to something. So the action looks amazing. It looks very fun. So I think I don't have anything based on what I've seen. It looks really, really good, and it looks like it's gonna probably be a bit of a surprise in the box office.
Mike, do you have any concerns about what do you think of the trailer?
It looks a lot of fun. I mean, they were on the right track where they did the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer, which was the previous one. Now we've got the new one, which is, I guess, the UK version. It looks like a lot of fun. We're getting to see the lighter side of these villains, seeing that they're being forced into this situation. I mean, Will Smith has that line in the trailer, remember we're the bad guys. That was, I think, for our sake, and it makes a great tagline. In fact, they've gone so far as to use it as one. So I'm looking forward to it. If the reshoots were in fact just to add more action, I think that's good. I suspect they were to lighten the tone in a reaction to maybe some of the fallout from Batman v Superman. So I don't think that's a bad call. Okay. I think they're not trying to go like, as Richard has put it previously, full Marvel, where it's a joke every 10 seconds, just to keep ribbing each other, that sort of thing. I think it's just to lighten it up, because the subject matter could be pretty bleak. I mean, the government forcing criminals to go on missions that they probably won't return from is a horrible thing to think of.
Right.
But in a superhero context, I mean, sure.
And that's why I feel. I mean, we all saw Fury. You saw Fury, Henry? Fury, the movie, the tank movie.
Yes, Mad Max.
No, Fury.
No.
Did you watch Fury?
No.
Okay, well, Fury was David Ayer's last movie. It was Brad Pitt tank, World War II tank movie. John Bernthal was in it.
Oh, right. Yeah. He was
Brad Pitt.
There was Scalps. Is that the one?
No, that was that was Inglourious Bastards. Well, that movie had quite a lot of humor in it too, but it's just natural, organic humor. It's not quips. It's not like one-liners. It's nothing. It's not that kind of humor, and so it's a very natural type of humor, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here more. I mean, he also wrote this. The script is credited to him, written and directed by David Ayer. So I don't think he's just not the kind. Everything that he's done, Fury, he did also End of Watch, and he also did Sabotage. I mean, he's not a slapstick guy, and I don't see him changing that. I think that the tone is going to be what it is. It was already going to be naturally lighter. I think Batman v Superman was a bit dark on purpose. Even before it was released, Terrio said that Justice League would be lighter in tone. I just think that they got through it. It was kind of like the DC version of Iron Man 2, which is a movie nobody talks about. But Iron Man 2 essentially set up the Avengers. And, it's a forgettable film. Nobody really talks about it. But it did all the legwork setting up the Avengers. And I think that's what Batman v Superman was. That was its role. Let's just do the legwork. If people like it, they don't like it, if it makes money, which it did, and now we can just move forward. And I think that not everything worked in Batman v Superman, but the tone was unique to that movie, I think. I think that now you have all of these very well-established directors, Patty Jenkins, David Ayer, James Wan. You have all these guys that have legitimate film careers. Now Ben Affleck, who's been announced to be writing and directing the Batman movie. So these are all four very highly regarded directors, and I think each character is going to have its own tone. I don't think Warner's is even... that was just a rumor because it was just way like the hot topic right there. And let's just talk. You got to fix it. I really don't think that's what's happening.
Well, the timing was suspect.
Yeah, I just think that the action, I think, based on the 2 trailers that we've seen, all 3 trailers, everything looks like it's already been filmed. Whatever's being reshot could never have made it into the trailers yet. And this one still looked more fun than the last one, And all of that stuff had to have already been shot. So...
yeah, I don't think we've seen anything new.
Yeah,
I think
I think we're fine. I think we're fine with Suicide Squad.
All right. Well, then my question to you is, all right. So before I ask the question, Batman versus Superman.
Right.
When they first announced the casting of Ben Affleck, there was a big uproar. There was a big backlash.
I think there was a collective groan from the world at large.
I think at that time, a lot of people were disappointed, I would say.
Obviously. And then perhaps even rightly so.
Right.
Given that he's not had but one maybe action role in... I think he was cast as Jack Ryan in...
Sum of All Fears.
The Sum of All Fears, thank you.
I think his role in The Town was action-y. I mean, he had some gunfights and stuff.
True.
There was a bit
But it wasn't as physical.
No,
I mean,
but
he's a big, imposing guy.
He is a big guy. He's a big guy. Yeah, there was some actiony stuff with that, and a little, not so much in Argo, but definitely in The Town.
He did get in a fight in Mallrats.
And he played Superman in the Superman story. He played
George Reeves, the biopic.
Hollywoodland.
That's right.
Hollywoodland. That's right. Okay, so and I think now that everyone's watched Batman versus Superman, I think the consensus is most people like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, sold.
Yes?
Sold 100%.
I think it's clearer to say that the biggest problem with Batman versus Superman was 2 things that I think most people have criticized more than they like, because nobody ever talks about what they like. They're only talking about what they didn't like. And the 2 things that I've heard more than anything else is they did not like Superman or the depiction of Superman, and they did not like Lex Luthor or the depiction of Lex Luthor.
Right.
But they don't talk about, Batman was awesome. They don't talk about Wonder Woman was amazing. They don't talk about any of the effects and the film.
It's funny because
they just talk about the 2 things they really didn't like.
Saying that, a lot of what I've seen has been the exact opposite. They complain about those exact things, but they always add the aside, but Affleck owned. He's Batman.
Well, not everybody's doing that, but yes, I mean, a lot of them did say Batman was awesome and Gal Gadot was awesome, and there was a lot of really good things in there. Despite what many people say, there was some attempts at humor, and the jokes landed, but they just didn't do it a lot. They did it just enough to, oh, that was funny, that kind of thing. Perry White's character was a bit of a comic relief, and so was Alfred to a degree. Was there for comic relief, and it was satisfactory. It wasn't great. It's not Marvel, but it was satisfactory to at least not be a complete funeral the entire time. But definitely the depiction of Superman, and we talked about this before. I think it was by design. I think now moving forward, based on the ending of Batman versus Superman, I think it was always going to be this way. The Superman from now on is going to be the one I think everybody wants. We just had to work a little bit to get there. And Lex, we don't know. I liked him, but I know some people didn't, and I respect that. But I didn't have a problem with it.
So going back to Batman, I know our number 4 fan thinks Val Kilmer's the best Superman. Best Batman, yeah. But we won't mention who that is anyway.
Pete.
So we're leading. So I asked Ben.
Was he being serious?
I don't know.
It's hard to tell with him.
It's hard to tell with you. So I bring up the Ben Affleck question because the casting news of Jared Leto caused an uproar.
Right.
It
did, and not as much as the first picture with the tattoos and the grill,
correct,
and all of those things. Again, and this is one thing that really frustrates me about DC Comics versus Marvel Comics, as far as the movies go.
Okay.
The comic book fan, just in general. I'm gonna just say the comic book fan in general.
Not a DC Marvel.
No.
You're not gonna.
No. I'm not gonna do that.
Ooh.
The comic book fan in general feels like they own Lex Luthor. They own the Joker. They own Doomsday, because these are characters that they're familiar with from growing up with cartoons or what have you. Nobody knows anything about Ronin, so they could do whatever they want with that guy. Nobody knows anything about Ironmonger, so they could do whatever they want with that guy. The only one that there was a bit of an uproar was with the Mandarin, because they totally just screwed that up. But
disagree.
I mean, they've given so many
Because
past.
there's years of history.
But the Mandarin that we had,
Correct.
that's what I'm saying. So
Correct.
DC's characters, just by their iconography, if you want to call it
Sure.
that, people want to own those characters.
Right.
And when you start reinterpreting them, people get all upset. People have been out of shape the way they did with Lex. They reinterpreted Lex, right? A modern version of Lex, because nobody wants to see another land grab heist movie or whatever. That's boring. So they kind of worked at what, and so the Joker, I think, is a more modern version, but he looks very similar to the one from Endgame.
But there's always been different interpretations of Lex
Right.
Luthor. Always.
But people really got bent out of shape over the picture of Jared Leto with the tats, with the grill. That's stupid. Why would he have that? Why would they do that? That's not my Joker. Very similar to that's not my Superman and that's not my Lex. The same problems
well, it
happen
was very
again.
thug. It was very ghetto. I mean, that
And what's wrong with that?
right. It's a
Right?
different interpretation.
But we own those characters.
You know,
and
I don't
how dare they
see
change
in
them?
a property with a multiverse. I think you lose all right to complain about any iteration of any character.
But it
because-
happened. It did happen. It was all over the
And-
place,
and
and
back-
people are still complaining about the tats.
Oh no, but back to Henry's original question about the casting of Jared Leto. I was like, oh, cool. The wife was over the moon, and I think this is the same for a lot of women. They
Sure.
love Jared
They
Leto.
do.
Right.
They
They do.
So that was a good pick. It was a damn solid pick, and I think he's gonna pull it off because he's got range. The guy is,
He's gonna knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
He's gonna be awesome.
And based on what we've seen on the two trailers, I mean,
He has a very imposing sense of him. I mean, they're scared of him.
he seems foreboding.
Yes.
Where most Jokers seem like, okay,
Jokey.
if you get your hands on him, he's probably yours.
Right.
But he's got so much. I mean, he's a bag, obviously a bag
Joker
of tricks.
needs to be unpredictable,
A wild card.
wild card, and not too much jokey. You know, too much practical
And
jokes.
it's just silly, and I'm gonna do things.
He's an unknown. You don't
Heath
know.
Ledger kind of had the makings of that. I think if
Right.
he hadn't passed, we would have seen.
I mean, Heath Ledger was a great Joker.
I think he set the bar
Right.
significantly higher than Jack Nicholson's.
Totally, yes.
They're
I would
I mean,
agree.
obviously they're different animals,
Right.
but you know, Heath Ledger's Joker was definitely more bent. He was gonna harm people, just kind of for the sake of it. But he had an agenda. He was more focused. You know, the Jack Napier character.
Right. I mean, he burned the money. He didn't want to kill Batman, and he wanted that.
Yeah,
back
his
and
motivation was scary.
Right.
Whereas
Exactly.
Jack Nicholson's character kind of just wanted the girl,
Right.
and didn't want Batman to have her.
Yeah.
The Joker just
And
wanted,
paintings. He wanted paintings.
yeah, for whatever
And
reason.
dancing to Prince.
Wanted to dance to Prince, but who doesn't? If I'm honest,
Hey, people really adore that movie.
Well,
I do too.
well,
Moving on.
well, we
Special
grew-
place in my heart.
Sure,
Moving
we,
on.
We grew up with that.
Yeah. I know.
But yeah, that sort of Joker that was really just wanted to have fun with Batman was kind of a scary thing to start with. I think we're getting the meaner version of that with Jared Leto's portrayal.
Right. I mean, people were up in arms about the tats and the teeth and he. Yeah. I mean, people
That's
were
forgivable,
upset.
though. I
Right.
mean, you got a character called the Joker. His
Right.
hair's green and he's white and he has red lips. I mean, that's already pretty out there. Is it that much of a
Well,
stretch for him to have tattoos? And
Was it forgivable for what they did to Lex? A lot of people weren't able to forgive that.
as long
Again-
as the core of the character stays the same, his visual.
What is the core of the character for the Joker, though? Just, I mean, it's been different. It was different in Cesar Romero's day, or it was different with Nicholson. It was different with
Ledger.
They were all different core
Mark
characters.
Hamill even.
Mark Hamill plays him differently.
Oh, he
So-
plays more kind of a jovial, but
so
still
well,
scary.
see, and that's the danger here. Are the fans going to applaud his performance, or are they going to gripe again for it not being?
You know, I'm glad you brought up Mark Hamill because here's what think we're seeing. We're seeing that moment when Mark Hamill drops his voice
Mhm.
when he's playing the Joker, and you hear that deep, raspy thing when you say like, okay, yeah, he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's funny and he does cute things, but when he dropped that voice and got really sinister, like even in the animated series, you felt like, okay, yeah, it's on now. This is serious Joker. Yeah, he wants it to be funny, but he wants it to hurt too.
And to some people, he's one of the quintessential Jokers as well. Even though he's just animated, he's like, the Joker.
I hear his voice anytime I see a picture of the Joker. Whenever I'm reading a comic and the Joker's talking, that's the voice that's in my head, just like Kevin Conroy's Batman's. So those two.
But for me, just looking at it, I'm going with it. And some people have said that the aesthetics, the look of him, he looks very similar to the Endgame Capullo Batman in this last Endgame arc. If you I don't know if you're still buying Batman, the Snyder Batman, the comic book.
Well, we're not talking about like the Death of the Family, like
it was after
mask.
that.
Okay,
it was Endgame where he had almost the same hair. He's kind of very gaunt, very kind of muscular looking. There's some similarities, and I know that I think Leto admitted or commented that he had gotten together with Grant Morrison to discuss how he would play the Joker.
Ah.
So I just wish that just let the movies do what they're going to do.
Grant Morrison or Scott Snyder?
Grant Morrison.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So he's going for Detective Comics.
It'll be interesting to see how. I mean, Snyder wrote that story, but he apparently also consulted with Grant Morrison.
Okay, for those of you out in the world who don't know who these two guys are, Scott Snyder jumped on during the New 52, which is the sort of the last relaunch of DC.
He's a writer.
Right, one of the best writers. If you look him up on Amazon, pick up anything that he's ever done, you're going to love it.
And he's moving over to All-Star Superman starting in June, I believe.
Yeah, great call. Grant Morrison writes some of the most whacked out things you've ever read,
sure.
Including the...
one of my favorite Batman stories, Arkham Asylum.
Obviously that, but he also wrote the Extremist storyline for Iron Man, which was, if you watched, we brought it up earlier, Iron Man 3, that involved that entire story. They did it horribly, but that's where the origin of that came from.
And I believe there's going to be a very big story coming out in Rebirth related to Batman because, we're not current comic book readers, but stuff that I've picked up over the internet. Batman recently had the powers of the Mother Box, and he asked for the Joker's real name. And all these years, 60 years of the Joker, no one has ever known Joker's name. Even the Killing Joke is one variation of Joker's origin story.
Several variations.
Right. So no one knows how Joker came to be. No one knows Joker's real name. So there was a story. He asked for Joker's real name, and he found out.
It's supposed to be revealed in Justice League.
Right. It's supposed to. So this Rebirth.
Yeah.
Do I want to know that?
I don't know. Do we want to know that?
Well, it's supposed to basically push a lot of things forward into Rebirth, but I think it was just coming out now. That story or his identity is supposed to be released before Rebirth starts. Okay. Like Justice League 51 or 52. Because those titles are ending at 52, and then it's going back to 1 at Rebirth.
Well, Snyder wrote those last two and worked with Capullo on those. So those are their last two bits of work that have yet to be released. Again, get your hands on these folks. Pick them up in trade paperback. Download them digitally. I mean, you put them right on your iPad. It's easy. Super easy.
But I think people are going to come away from Suicide Squad impressed with Jared Leto's performance as they were with Ben Affleck.
I think so. I think
and
if
I
they
think,
have
I really
any problems,
think, yeah.
I think they'll probably qualify them with, but Jared Leto was awesome as the Joker.
And I really think Margot Robbie's going to be amazing as well. I think those two are going to be...
the trailers are any indication of her Harley Quinn, then yeah, we're okay.
Right, and because most of her starting career as Harley Quinn, she was more the Harlequin character with the costume and the bells, and now I guess because of recent Arkham games and this movie, I think they recently reintroduced that look for Harley in the comic books.
And Jim Lee has also said recently, because he will be drawing the new Suicide Squad #1, again, Rebirth is coming in the summer, and he specifically said that Harley Quinn's outfits will be different based on the missions they go on. So she's going to be dressing appropriately, or mission appropriate, if you will. So she may be more armored up in some missions. She may be more like you see her in the movie in other missions. So she will be the one that's going to be dressing up differently based on what they're
with their
doing.
own little Harley Quinn twist on them.
Right, and she's always been after Mr. J.
Correct.
But I think recently she's come into her own. I mean, I think I read that she beat Joker's ass and totally separate. So she's now independent.
Well,
she's no longer
and there's
lusting
also
after Joker.
right, and there's also an on again, off again relationship with Poison Ivy.
Okay, right.
And we may very well see. I know that there's already talk about a Suicide Squad 2. They've already been talking about it, and it'd be interesting to see if we wind up seeing Poison Ivy in the sequel, because they've had a very long-standing relationship dating back even to the animated series.
Well, if it's Poison Ivy, it's a long stemming. Right? And with that is episode X. So feel free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, like and subscribe. I'm Henry.
I'm Mike.
I'm Richard.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.